Jordan Raanan is, I don't know if he's in Philly yet or not, but I'll be there on Sunday as the Giants and Eagles renew their rivalry. The Eagles have won 3 in a row, Jordan, at Lincoln Financial Field. If they do 3 in a row, if they make it 4 in a row, that's almost a knockout blow for the Giants' 2017 season.
Yeah, they have the opportunity here to really, throw the Giants season in the trash. 0-3 is pretty much the kiss of death in the NFL. And if you look at the Giants' schedule, I mean, even after this game at Tampa Bay, then they have a home game against the Chargers, which is a winnable game. Then they play at Denver in a primetime game and against the Seattle Seahawks. So, I mean, this is a tough stretch for the Giants here. And if they're at 0-3, they're in gigantic trouble. I can say right now their season's over. If they're 0-3, they're not going to make the playoffs.
So any changes up there? We know the Eagles apparently are making a change at left guard, but we know both teams have struggled on the offensive line, but probably the Giants more. Any changes up front on the line for New York?
The fact that you could even say probably is troubling for both teams. I will say that. I would be very scared. The fact that we can't even say that with a 100% straight face, because the Giants line, holy cow, their whole offense in particular, not even just the line, I'm probably picking on the line too much. The whole offense in particular has been atrocious. You know, they've been embarrassed basically twice on national television in primetime games, been outscored 43-13 so far, and their line has been a mess. So I don't see any significant huge changes, because the reality is right tackle Bobby Hart left Sunday's game. He had an injured ankle, and he lasted 2 plays on an injured ankle or aggravated the injury. So Bobby Hart is officially ruled out. So their starting right tackle's out. Justin Pugh, who's their left guard, is likely moving to right tackle. And Brett Jones, who's already their 6th lineman, is being inserted into the lineup as the starting left guard. Now, what that means is that Eric Flowers, and if you've watched the Giants play anytime, pretty much in the last 3 years, you see that Eric Flowers is going to stick at left tackle, and you realize that could be trouble for the Giants because he has not been very good. He's allowed 4 sacks already in 2 games this season and committed a holding penalty. So 4 sacks and a holding penalty for your left tackle in 2 games is not very good. And if there's a drastic change, it doesn't look like it's going to appear to be on that offensive line. But really the reason is the Giants aren't overflowing with great options on that offensive line right now. So kind of stuck. At least in their mind, they're stuck.
Jordan Raanan with us talking Giants football. And Jordan, you've seen this stretch where they've scored 20 or more in 8 straight. They have some good skill players. What gives, though? Why can't they score? Is the fact that their offensive line is that bad? Does it all go to the offensive line, or is there other reasons that they can't score the football?
No,
there are plenty of 20.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right. They have not scored 20. They have not scored 20 points now in 8 straight games dating back to last year. That includes the playoff loss. Now, the quarterback, and I know some people get up in arms and they defend Eli Manning and they say he has no protection and he has no time to throw the ball. And yes, that is partially true. But at the same time they need him to make plays, and he hasn't made enough plays a lot of times. Now, there's also been times where the wide receivers haven't helped him out. They had a ton of drop passes in the playoff loss. Eli actually played pretty well in that playoff loss. They had a bunch of drop passes in the second half the other day. So the wide receivers didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Odell Beckham Jr., obviously the first 2 games of the season, the Giants didn't have a full-strength Odell Beckham Jr. in the first 2 games of the season. That hurts a lot. He is their offense. They have no running game, which also is attached to the offensive line. But they don't have, their running backs are also very average at best. I mean, they're not overflowing with talent at the running back position. Their tight ends don't block great. I mean, so when you put all these things together, it creates a dysfunctional offense that really can't consistently put drives together. I mean, they could put together big plays here or there, and that's where Beckham comes into the picture, but they just can't consistently move the ball because they, A, don't run the ball consistently, and B, they don't pass protect. And then their quarterback can't move on top of everything else. So there's a lot of reasons, and really the only way that they're going to be saved is that, A, Odell Beckham Jr. just carries them on his back, which he's capable of doing, last year the Giants were in a spot where their season was about to go in the toilet. They were 2-3, and they were playing a Ravens team in Week 6 that was absolutely decimated. I mean, the team the Ravens had on the field at the time, I think by the second half they were missing like 9 starters, and all Odell Beckham Jr. and the Giants were losing to them, and all Odell Beckham Jr. did was go for 211 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half, including the game winner on a 4th and 1, which he basically took, I think it was like 81 yards or something ridiculous like that. So that's like that. If you're a Giants fan holding out hope, I mean, that's kind of what you're holding out hope for, is that this guy just saves them.
Hey, Jordan, how did this team win 11 games last year? It's virtually the same team, right?
Well, they won 11 games because that defense is excellent. And as long as you don't make special teams plays and you have a full-strength Odell Beckham to make enough big plays here or there, it was enough offensively. Now, the defense is still really good. Like, the Eagles are going to have trouble moving the ball against this defense, even without Janoris Jenkins and B.J. Goodson, who's their starting middle linebacker. The Giants held Matthew Stafford to 122 yards passing last week. I mean, the Giants outgained the Lions. The Lions finished with 250 total yards, and 47, I think, were on the final drive where they broke off a big run. So this defense is still really good. They've been letting up more third downs than they did last year. They let up their red zone defense hasn't been as good. But this is still a really good defense. They can pressure the quarterback off both edges. Their secondary's good. They're pretty much loaded in the secondary when they're healthy with cover guys and cornerbacks. So there's a lot of good things defensively, and they played pretty well on special teams last year. They go for a special teams touchdown the other day, which obviously was a killer. So they need to rely on that defense. That's the strength of this team. There's no doubt about that.
So you just said it. Their defense. That's why they won 11 games. Is their defense good enough to lead them to a win on Sunday?
Well, you know what? How about this? Ready? The Giants have won once against the Philadelphia Eagles in the last 6 games, right? That was last year. I don't know if you remember the game. Carson Wentz was a rookie, right? Going up against a good defense. He threw interceptions on the first 2 Eagles possessions of the game. The Giants ended up with a quick 14-0 lead and basically held on. I think they won 28-23 was the final score. That's the Giants' recipe to win. Is they win it defensively. They do enough defensively. They create turnovers and do enough to hold the Eagles' offense. And look, the Eagles' offense, like you mentioned it before, their offensive line hasn't been very good either, right?
And they can't run the ball a lick either. Or they choose not to run it. They choose not to run it.
With Damon Harrison in the middle. You don't run the ball on Damon Harrison. He is the best run stuffer in the league, and by a wide margin. They have no chance of running the ball up the middle consistently against this Giant team. So if they can get Carson Wentz enough pressure on him to make mistakes, then that's their recipe to win. They have the defensive line. I mean, Jason Pierre-Paul, Olivier Vernon off the edges. They have some good pass rushers, and then Damon Harrison in the middle, and that's a pretty darn good defensive line that they're playing with. And they've given both first 2 teams they played fits. So
let me ask you, Jordan Raanan, ESPN.com, NFL Nation. The Philly beat guys, today were suggesting that Peterson seemed a little they seem a little concerned that this game it could slip away from them. Like they know they need this game, but that it could slip away from them because of the injuries in the secondary. Do the Giants? Is there an upbeat attitude there? Like, hey, that this Eagles team can be caught off guard even though they're at home?
I don't think the Giants even look at it that way. They just look at themselves in such high regard, and that they just think they're too good a team to play that poorly. As they have early in the year. Like they look at themselves and say, look, we went 11. This is an 11-5 team last year. Like you said, how did they go 11-5? They look at it like, oh, we went 11-5. We just started off poorly. And I think that's the way they're looking at it. They're not looking at the Eagles and saying, oh, this is a team that they think is significantly better than them, or even more talented than them. So I don't even think they really look at it that way. It's a strange phenomenon right now. They just think they have too much talent that they could be playing so poorly. But you know what? The Eagles' recipe is simple, just like everything else. They cover up that secondary by pressuring Eli Manning.
That's right.
The Dallas Cowboys don't have a great secondary, but they were able, as they pressured Eli Manning and had him, seeing ghosts, and that's how you get the Giants off their game, and you're able to sort of mask your deficiencies, so to say, on the back end.
Yeah. I guess here, Peterson's been questioned a lot about the lack of running the ball. The ratio, I think they've called 76% pass plays. The talk up there has been about the play caller as well. Any evidence that there could be a change in the play caller on Sunday?
Yeah, McAdoo said it's a possibility. He said there's going to be drastic changes. I don't know. Until I see it with him, I'm just not going to believe it. Look, he's an Andy Reid kind of guy. He's a Mike McCarthy kind of, what's called the Mike Holmgren. Mike McCarthy guy. That's the tree he comes from. Mike McCarthy is his mentor, right? And Mike McCarthy, I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago, remember he gave up his play calling? But you know what? It didn't last very long. He took it back before the season was even over.
Yeah.
From Tom Clement. So if you're Ben McAdoo and you're looking at that, and that's your mentor, it's hard for me to see. And we've talked about this now for pretty much the last 6 months with Ben McAdoo, whether he should be calling plays, because there's a precipitous drop if you look at all their offensive numbers from when he was offensive coordinator calling the plays and from when he's been the head coach and also essentially being the offensive coordinator and calling the plays. There's a big difference between the success of the offense in those two periods. So, but until I see it, it's hard for me to believe that all of a sudden he's going to give up his play calling. And the Giants, by the way, they don't run the ball either. They have less than 100 yards rushing in the two games combined, 32nd in the NFL, and that includes the two teams that only played one game. They're all ahead of them already.
Good point out by you. Jordan Raanan, ESPN.com. Jason Pierre-Paul calling this a must-win game already at the link. You can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Jordan, enjoy the game, my man.
Thanks, Jordan.
I will. See you guys soon.